Edward was happy to be running again after a long time. His driver and fireman had been considerate to arrange his now regular timetables with Sir Charles Hatt, the Fat Director, though they were careful not to push Edward to his limits, given his age. As the days passed, all of the engines had given Edward their full support. All except two, Gordon and another big blue tender engine. This engine had no name, only his number, 98462. Along with Gordon, 98462 had been brought to the railway on trial, and although he and Gordon had a great deal in common, both being boastful and cocky, 98462 never seemed to know when enough was enough. One evening, Edward came into the sheds after taking his last passenger run of the day, feeling quite proud. You finally managed to make it out at the station, sniffed 98462. I've never known an engine like you be so useless, Edward. I'm sure we'll be hearing a lot of complaints from the passengers tomorrow. You must have been behind time all day. Thomas and Henry gave 98462 a foul look, but Edward just smiled. Actually, he chuckled, we were right on time. I'm happy to be feeling useful again. The passengers seem to agree. Edward knew if he did not let 98462's remarks bother him, the engine wouldn't berate him for long, and soon enough, having given up on getting any sort of reaction out of Edward, he drifted off to sleep. With Edward now running passenger trains more regularly, the Fat Director had extended the timetable to run later into the evenings. This meant that Edward, Gordon and 98462 would now be running the island's main passenger services. Edward had his doubts, but he was determined to work his hardest. Fortunately for him, he ran the loop line, so he only saw the two big blue engines at the junction. But as the weeks passed, Edward began to feel tired. He thought his trains were getting heavier, or that his age was beginning to show. Thomas and Henry noticed this. Can we be of any help? Asked Henry kindly. We are a little worried about you. No thank you, puffed Edward. You have your own trains to manage. We can't upset the Fat Director's timetable. Little did the engines know, 98462 had been listening and had started making a plan. The next morning, Edward puffed into the big station to collect his first train of the day, but he couldn't see his coaches at any of the platforms. Thomas must have woken up late again, he thought. But before he could think of anything else, 98462 came huffing into that platform, with Edward's coaches coupled to his own. Edward couldn't believe his eyes. No need to fret, 98462 puffed smoothly. I'll be taking your train today. After all, given your state, we can't upset the Fat Director's timetable. And before Edward could say another word, the guard's whistle blew, and the sound of 98462's cackled laughter drowned his puffs as he steamed out of the station. Just as Thomas arrived, he had seen everything. You shouldn't let him treat you like this, Edward. It's not doing you any good. Even Gordon never goes this far, he huffed. Why don't you speak to the Fat Director about it? He's not worth it, Thomas, Edward interrupted. It's best we just get on with our work. And Edward puffed away, leaving a completely distraught Thomas with much to think about.